Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at how animals move.
Okay.
So, as always, we've got a great source for this one, an excerpt from a science textbook.
Sounds good.
And the things that I found really interesting is that earthworms actually eat their way through the soil.
Really?
Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy, right?
Yeah.
But before we get to the wriggly wonders, I think we should start with something a little closer to home.
Sure.
Us humans.
Humans.
So the textbook starts by, breaking down human movement into these basic elements. And it all starts with joints.
Right.
I've never really thought about it this way, but without these connection points between our bones, we'd be stuck.
Yeah, you'd be totally immobile.
Yeah.
It's amazing how we take our own movement for granted.
Yeah.
But really, joints are the unsung heroes of mobility. They allow us to bend and twist and extend our limbs in countless ways.
Yeah.
Just imagine trying to walk without the hinge joint in your knee. Talk about a stiff situation.
It would just be like a board.
Exactly.
Or trying to throw a ball without the flexibility of your shoulders, ball, and socket joint.
Oh, yeah.
You'd be stuck with a pretty weak throw.
Definitely.
And
what's really...
Go on.
Oh, no, you go ahead.
I was just going to say, what's interesting is that even seemingly simple movements like making a fist, they involve this intricate interplay of muscles and bones.
Yeah, and you can feel it, too, right? You can actually feel your bicep muscle contract as you clench your hand. It's like this hidden system of biological pulleys working beneath our skin.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
And those muscles are pulling on a framework that gives our body its shape, the skeleton.
Right.
The textbook compares it to a doll's framework, which I thought was a pretty good visual.
Yeah.
But it's so much more complex than that.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we're born with over 300 bones.
Wow.
And some of them fuse together as we grow.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. It makes you wonder, what would those early skeletons look like on an X-ray? I bet it'd be pretty wild.
Yeah. And speaking of X-rays, they're an incredible tool for visualizing those 206 bones that we end up with as adults.
Absolutely.
I mean, think about the intricate structure of the rib cage. All those curiously curved ribs protecting our vital organs.
Nature's armor plating.
Yeah. And then there's the backbone made up of all those small vertebrae.
Right.
That allow for so much flexibility.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I'm always so amazed by how contortionists can bend their bodies in seemingly impossible ways.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And all that flexibility is also thanks to cartilage, that smooth, resilient tissue that's found in our ears and joints.
Yeah, if we didn't have that, every step we took would be incredibly jarring.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Okay, so we've got the basics of human movement down.
Right.
But what about the rest of the animal kingdom? Yeah. It's like a whole other world of locomotion out there.
Absolutely.
From, slithering snakes to soaring eagles.
It's incredible, the variety.
Yeah. And do all these creatures even have bones?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So while bones are a common feature in many animals, the diversity of skeletal structures and movement strategies is truly mind-boggling.
Okay, so let's start with an animal that doesn't have bones at all.
Right.
The earthworm.
Okay.
How on earth do they move without a skeleton?
So earthworms are masters of subterranean travel, and they use this fascinating system of muscles that contract and relax and essentially inch their way through the soil.
So they were like inching along.
Exactly.
Wow.
And they even have these tiny bristles called setae that help them grip the ground.
Oh, so like hundreds of little feet.
It's kind of like that, yeah. And remember that fact about them eating their way through the soil?
Yeah.
That's not just some random quirk. It actually plays a vital role in aerating the soil and making it more fertile for plants.
So they're like nature's little gardeners.
Exactly, multitasking.
Okay, let's shift gears to another creature famous for its unique mode of transportation, the snail.
Ah, the snail. A champion of slow and steady progress. These creatures glide along on a muscular foot, leaving a trail of slime in their wake.
And while they do have a shell, it's not part of their movement system, right? It's more like a protective mobile home.
Exactly. The shell provides shelter, but it doesn't contribute to locomotion.
Okay.
Now let's jump to the opposite end of the speed spectrum with the cockroach.
Talk about a creature that can move.
Right.
They seem to scurry everywhere, and they can even fly.
Cockroaches are incredibly adaptable, which is one reason they're so successful.
Yeah.
They have 6 legs, 2 pairs of wings, and unlike us, a hard outer skeleton.
So instead of having bones inside their bodies, they have this tough exoskeleton on the outside.
Precisely. It provides protection and support, much like an internal skeleton, but it also has its drawbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make it difficult for them to grow.
Oh?
They have to shed their exoskeleton and grow a new one, which leaves them vulnerable during that process.
It's like a trade-off, protection for vulnerability.
Yeah. Yeah. Every adaptation has its pros and cons.
Yeah, for sure.
Speaking of adaptations, let's take to the skies with birds.
Okay.
Their ability to fly is truly a marvel of evolution.
I've always been so envious of birds.
Yeah.
Soaring through the air, it looks so effortless.
It may look effortless, but there's a lot of complex biomechanics at play. One key adaptation is their hollow bones.
Oh, yeah.
Which reduce weight without sacrificing strength.
It's like nature's version of lightweight engineering.
Exactly.
I think I remember reading somewhere that some birds even have air sacs connected to their lungs that extend into their bones, making them even lighter.
That's right. And those hollow bones are just one part of the equation.
Okay.
Birds also have incredibly powerful chest muscles that are anchored to a modified breastbone, the keel. And that provides the power for those impressive wing beats.
It's amazing how it all works together. The bones, the muscles, and even the feathers, all perfectly adapted for flight.
Absolutely. It's a symphony of form and function.
Now let's switch gears again and dive into the water with fish.
Okay. Fish are masters of aquatic locomotion. And their bodies are perfectly sculpted for moving through water.
Their streamlined shape always makes me think of like those high-tech swimsuits.
Oh, yeah.
Designed to reduce drag. It's like nature beat us to it.
It certainly did, and it's not just about the shape. Fish have powerful muscles that run along their sides, and their tails act like propellers pushing them through the water.
And those fins, they're not just for decoration, right?
Not at all. The fins help with stability, steering, and even braking.
Wow.
Different fins have different functions, allowing fish to maneuver with incredible precision.
Okay, so we've seen animals that fly, swim, and even burrow through the soil.
We have.
But there's one creature I'm particularly curious about. The snake.
Okay.
Their movement always seems so mysterious to me.
Snakes have mastered the art of slithering, and it's a much more complex process than it might appear.
I used to think they just sort of wiggled their way along. But there's a lot more to it, right?
Absolutely. Snakes use their scales and muscles in a really coordinated way to create friction with the ground, propelling themselves forward. They can even move in a straight line by using different parts of their bodies to push against the ground.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really remarkable.
It's like they're defying the laws of physics.
In a way, they are.
Speaking of defying physics, there's another animal we haven't talked about yet. The starfish.
Okay.
They move in a completely different way, right?
The starfish is truly unique. It moves using a hydraulic system, which is unlike anything we've seen so far.
Hydraulics, that sounds like something out of a science fiction movie.
It might sound futuristic, but it's a very effective way for starfish to move around.
Okay.
They have these tiny tube feet that are filled with fluid.
So how does that help them move? It's not like they have legs or fins?
Right. So the starfish uses muscles to pump water into those tube feet, causing them to extend and attach to surfaces. And then to release it, draws the water back in.
So it's like they're using tiny suction cups to pull themselves along.
That's a great way to put it.
That's mind-blowing.
Nature is full of surprises.
Absolutely. We've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the familiar workings of our own bodies to the alien-like movements of starfish.
It's been quite a journey.
It's amazing how diverse the animal kingdom is when it comes to getting around.
And that diversity highlights a key point.
What's that?
There's no one-size-fits-all solution to movement.
Yeah.
Every animal has evolved a strategy that works best for its specific needs and environment.
So form follows function, as they say.
Exactly. Whether it's the streamlined body of a fish or the powerful wings of a bird, every adaptation serves a purpose.
It makes you appreciate the incredible power of evolution to shape life in so many different ways.
It really does.
And it makes you wonder what other amazing adaptations are out there just waiting to be discovered.
That's the beauty of science. There's always something new to learn. And speaking of learning, remember that question we posed earlier about why so many animals have an even number of legs?
Yes. I'm still curious about that. What's the answer?
Well, there's no easy answer. It's a complex question that scientists are still exploring.
Okay.
But one theory that seems to hold weight is the idea of stability and balance.
Makes sense. I mean, if you try to stand on one leg, it's much harder than standing on two.
Exactly. Having paired limbs provides a symmetrical base of support, which is crucial for maintaining equilibrium, especially when you're moving.
So whether it's 2 legs, 4 legs, or even 6, it's all about finding that balance.
Precisely. And this principle applies across the animal kingdom, whether it's a cheetah sprinting across the savanna, a squirrel scampering up a tree, or an insect crawling on a leaf having paired limbs, helps to ensure stability and control.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's fascinating to think that something as simple as having an even number of legs can give an animal such a big advantage in terms of stability and balance.
It's a simple but powerful principle.
It makes you wonder if there are any exceptions to this rule. I mean, nature is full of surprises, right?
You're absolutely right. There are always exceptions that prove the rule. And nature loves to keep us on our toes.
Okay.
Take kangaroos, for example.
Kangaroos, they have an even number of legs, don't they?
They do, but they also have a powerful tail.
Right.
That acts like a third leg, forming a tripod for stability. It's especially useful when they're hopping at high speeds or standing upright.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I've seen videos of kangaroos hopping, and it's incredible how balanced they are.
Yeah, they've kind of found a loophole in the system.
Yeah.
And then there are animals like starfish, which, as we discussed earlier, move using hundreds of tiny tube feet.
Right.
They don't have paired limbs in the traditional sense, but they've evolved a completely different and incredibly effective system for getting around.
Starfish are definitely one of a kind.
They really are.
So it seems like nature has found a variety of solutions to the challenge of movement, even when it comes to the number of limbs.
Absolutely. It's all about adapting to the environment and finding what works best.
It's incredible.
It is.
Well, I think this has been a fantastic deep dive. We've learned so much about animal movement.
I agree. It's been a fascinating exploration.
From the intricate workings of our own bodies to the mind-boggling strategies of creatures like snakes and starfish.
It's a testament to the diversity and ingenuity of nature.
Absolutely. And to our listeners out there, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep observing, and keep asking questions. Pay attention to the creatures around you, big and small, and marvel at the incredible ways they move through the world.
You never know what you might discover.
Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to make the next big discovery in animal locomotion.
That's right. The world is full of mysteries waiting to be unraveled.
Until next time, keep learning and keep moving.